Welcome back to Steelers Therapy. I'm Ron John. Apologies for the lull since my last piece of content. I had my third kid, my second son, beautiful boy. But let's get into the Steelers in their win, 18-10 over the Atlanta Falcons in Atlanta. Once again, I'm Ron John. Let's do it. Let's talk Steelers. Again, if you haven't, please subscribe to the channel, share, like it. It'll really help get this channel going as far as our passion for the Steelers. So first off, the Atlanta Falcons are a good team. Don't let anybody tell you they're a bad team. Don't let yesterday's performance indicate that they're a bad team. On paper, they have a good roster. Some may say a better roster than the Pittsburgh Steelers. They upgraded their offense with Kirk Cousins. He's been at the top of the league when it comes to offensive passing production over the last half decade or more. They upgraded their defense with guys like Matthew Judon, Jesse Bates. And this was in Atlanta. And this was a team that's been hyped by not just the Atlanta media, but all media. And ultimately, the Steelers went into Atlanta and really gave them the business, for at least from a defensive standpoint. So don't let anybody minimize this win. It is a big win for the Pittsburgh Steelers, especially in that they only have 8 games at home, 9 games away. All the other teams in the AFC North lost over the weekend. So really good step forward for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's talk about the defense. This defense was incredible yesterday. The first half, they were a little shaky. They weren't terrible. They were a little shaky coming out of the gate. The run defense was a little soft, gave up the 3 points, and also gave up the touchdown. I think it was late in the first half. Beanie Bishop got a little bit lost in coverage. We should expect that, knowing that slot corner is the Steelers' biggest weakness at probably any position. Cam Sutton will be a breath of fresh air when he comes back, giving his ability to play that position and play it well. But in the second half, I mean, the Falcons didn't get anything done. I think the Steelers gave up less than 60 yards. It was like 50-some yards in that half. They intercepted the ball. They strip-sacked Kirk Cousins. The Falcons' offense had nowhere to go. They did nothing in that second half. It was incredible to watch. So kudos to the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. Now, I want to talk TJ Watt. Look, TJ Watt is an absolute monster. He is a game wrecker. This guy, picking him up where we did, which I think was something like 30th overall, was just an amazing, I don't know if it was a stroke of luck or if it really was Kevin Colbert and team understanding how good he was going to be. But if we had not made that selection, the Pittsburgh Steelers organization would be in disarray. We would not have had winning seasons. We certainly would not have been to the playoffs. He accounts for multiple wins that the Steelers get alone, just TJ Watt each year. He's an absolute game wrecker, and it's unfortunate. He had 2, I think, strip sacks that were taken away via penalty. The first one was an offsides penalty, which when you slow it down and when you look at the replay, he just timed it perfectly, absolutely perfectly. It is the highest level of football one can play, and the referees took that away from him. The second one wasn't his fault, wasn't even near the play. I think it was Dante Jackson putting hands to the face of a receiver. Now, you can say, well, maybe Kirk Cousins could have thrown to that receiver had the hands not been to the face, so maybe Dante Jackson certainly did do that. But as far as the offsides, it's a real shame that they took that one away from TJ Watt. But still, at the end of the game, he's a closer, got the sack at the end, always in the backfield wreaking havoc. TJ Watt is just a monster. Anybody that thinks Myles Garrett is better than TJ Watt is an absolute buffoon. They shouldn't be talking football. Any one of those commentators who have said that are just, they're just idiots with a capital I. He's the best defensive player in the game. He's been the best defensive player in the game really since his second season in the NFL. Now, this brings me to my second point. We already touched on that. But the refereeing in this game, was just absolutely atrocious. It was putrid. The NFL has a major problem with refereeing, not just in this game, but you watch all the other games. You watch the game from last night. You watch the Ravens Chiefs game from earlier. There are phantom calls that are happening all over the place. And the thing is when somebody like my wife, who's just an amateur watching the game, she doesn't know much about the specifics of the game, isn't a steward of the game, but watches it as a casual fan. When she sees these obvious miscalls by these referees, it's just horrendous. We have replay for a reason. We should be able to replay some of these things. I know the NFL wants to speed up the game and make it go long. I'd rather them get the call right. And to be honest, I know this may sound a little bit too forward thinking, but why not have AI assist in calling a game? It's objective. It's not a person. And it should be able to use measurements and things in the video to really discern whether or not a penalty took place, like the TJ Watt offsides. If you slow that down and you go all the way down to that frame of when they hiked the ball, TJ Watt timed it perfectly. And why? They took back a strip sack, something that was significant to the game for no reason whatsoever. George Pickens was not touched when he caught that bomb downfield. He was not touched. Go back and look. And the referees called him down. How about the bomb George Pickens caught from Justin Fields, where they called offensive pass interference? By the letter of the way that the rules are written, it is not pass interference. The contact, yes, he did make contact. It was a very slight push-off, but it has to be significant. It has to be discernible to affect the play. That's how the language is written, and it wasn't. It was nothing. And, again, we've got referees making those calls. You go back to the Ravens in the Chiefs game. Patrick Mahomes got a head-to-head contact, 15-yard penalty, and there was no contact to his head. Just simply didn't happen. Did not happen. And that really affects, those type of games. Even last night in the Lions and Rams game, I think the Rams were close to the goal line, and there was a holding call against the Rams. But it wasn't holding. It was a face mask. He was holding on to the player's face mask. So, yes, they were backed up 10 yards, but they should have been backed up 15. These are easy things to get right by just doing a second of replay. If you've got some central hub in New York that's looking at these things, they should be correcting these calls that are miscalled on the field. They should be leveraging things like AI. The NFL is an embarrassment when it comes to the management of refereeing in the game. They are very lucky that Americans absolutely love football, and internationally it's growing, and that we are forgiving of this just unbelievable indictment of the NFL's management of the refereeing. So anyway, bad refereeing, but still good teams overcome bad refereeing, and that's what the Steelers did. Now on to Justin Fields. So Justin Fields looked like Justin Fields. He didn't look great. He didn't look terrible. He did Justin Fields things where he can essentially run a quarterback draw, sort of like Lamar Jackson on any play to pick up few yards, and is able to get kind of those tough third downs, 3rd and 4, 3rd and 3, 3rd and 5, able to use his legs. He's got a nice arm. He's got a pretty nice long ball, but he also misses layups pretty easily. Missed a layup to, I think it was Najee Harris, missed another one to Justin Jefferson early in the game. They kind of had the handcuffs on him in the first half, didn't let him throw down the field very much. Most everything was at the line of scrimmage or behind the line of scrimmage. But I think it's more of an indication of Justin Fields and the Steelers coaching staff, their trust in what he's able to do. He still looks very much like a quarterback in development. Certainly, seeing the 2 snap fumbles right away, you just kind of bonk your head and go, what is going on here? Because that was the theme in the preseason, where he would just keep having these fumbles, and he did a lot of that in Chicago. So there's still some question marks around Justin Fields. But he looked like Justin Fields. Yes, he can run. He's athletic. He's got a strong arm, but he's going to put the ball on the ground. He's going to miss layups that are close to him and things like that. So a lot of question marks, but still, I think at the end of the day, a fairly strong performance to not throw interceptions, to make a lot of those big throws at critical times, especially at the end of the first half to George Pickens. Great throw. So I think everybody should feel encouraged by Justin Fields in that he is, potentially our next starting quarterback, but is also our backup quarterback. You look at other teams like the Green Bay Packers without Jordan Love. Aaron Rodgers tonight may get hurt on the first play, and who's going to back him up? The Steelers have what seems to be two quality quarterbacks that can play. And if they've got this good defense and they can limit turnovers, they can still compete and make the playoffs. And what I liked about the Steelers offense is it's starting to kind of look a little bit like the Ravens offense with Justin Fields. And that's a good thing, where you're playing bully ball. You're running the ball, you're running tough yards, you're wearing down the defense. Your quarterback keeps the defense guessing whether they are going to throw the ball, run the ball, and you can really dictate the terms and play good defense. So really like where the Steelers offense could be headed with Justin Fields. However, I'm still not 100% bought into him, so we'll see how things go. As far as Russell Wilson goes, I think he is going to get the start next week in Denver. It still seems like Mike Tomlin has made a commitment to Russell Wilson as the starting QB. Certainly Justin Fields didn't hurt his chances yesterday, but I think they are going to give Russell Wilson enough rope to hang himself with. And he will be on a short leash. So he's either going to go in there and play well, and well enough that he is the Steelers quarterback, or he's going to be choppy. And if you're going to have a choppy quarterback who's up and down, you might as well have Justin Fields in there to continue to develop. So let's talk about the running game. First of all, Jaylen Warren wasn't used much, likely because his foot he's still nursing an injury. Najee Harris was mostly used. So there's a lot of people out there that think Najee Harris played really well and he was a good back. I don't think that. I still don't think he's a good back. I don't know where this is coming from. His success rate wasn't that good. His yards per carry weren't that good, 3.5. It's on par with Najee Harris. He's not Jerome Bettis. He got 20 of the 60-some yards I think that he got was on one carry. He's mostly Najee for two. That's what Najee Harris is. I don't think he's a good back. He's very slow, and he's not quick to burst through some of those holes. So, yeah, he was able to ground and pound and wear their defense down a little bit, but Najee Harris can't be the future for the Pittsburgh Steelers. We cannot continue to have a running back that gets under 4 yards a carry on a consistent basis, can maybe break one for a 10, 20-yard, one explosive run a game, and the rest are unsuccessful. I don't buy it. I still think Jaylen Warren is the best runner on the team, and hopefully as he gets healthier, he'll get the ball more, he'll make some more explosive plays, better yards per carry. I still believe in Jaylen Warren. So hopefully that's what happens. If you think Najee Harris is the man, tell me why in the comments. And yeah, we'll talk about it. Beanie Bishop, he looked like Beanie Bishop I thought would look. Essentially he didn't look terrible, but the way in which the Steelers disguised their coverages, the way in which they employed their defensive scheme was able to hide a lot of his warts. The one touchdown pass in the end zone was on him. He looked lost in zone coverage, really covering nobody. He's really got to get back there and at least, take a swat at the ball or something, put a hat on the receiver once he catches the ball in the end zone to see if he can fumble it. But not a terrible day by Beanie Bishop. So, maybe a little bit encouraged, but ultimately he looked like I thought he would look. We really need Cam Sutton back. And hopefully we'll get him back quickly. Now let's talk about the star of the game, Chris Boswell. Man, this guy didn't just make chip shot field goals or mid-range field goals. This guy was booting field goals in the high 50s, mid 50s. over and over again. I think he had 3 field goals plus 50 yards, 2 plus 40. I think he had the 1 chip shot. Chris Boswell has just been amazing. And I was a little worried from looking at him in preseason and at training camp, but to come out and kick the way he did, I mean, that guy is just absolute money. And to put the icing on the cake, when Cameron Johnston goes out as our punter, Chris Boswell steps in and boots, a halfway decent punt for 43 yards. It was a little bit of a line drive, but I mean, coming from your kicker, he's looks like he's pretty much just as good as Presley Harvin, who's unfortunately probably going to be our punter moving forward. So that's not good. But anyway, hats off to Chris Boswell and special teams in general. Scotty Miller being the backup holder, making that great tackle downfield on Chris Boswell's punt. Can't say enough good things about Chris Boswell. As far as Mike Tomlin goes, his decision-making is just poor at times. And I don't understand what's in his head. He says things like, we don't live in our fears. There's a difference between being aggressive and being reckless. But I would call Mike Tomlin's decision to go for it on 4th down at the, waning minutes of the game when the Steelers could go up 8 points. So not only would the Falcons have had to get a touchdown, but they also had to get a 2-point conversion against a defense that was holding them to pretty much no yards the entire half. Why would you put your defense in that situation? Maybe it's that he had confidence in his defense, but I think it's just a silly play. Kick the field goal, get up 8 points, let your defense do what they do. He put a lot of stress on that game by making that call, not only making the call to go for it on 4th, but everybody in the stadium knew what was going to happen. All the Atlanta Falcons players knew Justin Fields was going to sneak the ball. Just poorly executed. Bad call by Mike Tomlin. He needs to be better at making decisions moving forward. Don't like that at all. So the AFC North looks like I thought the AFC North would look. I thought the Ravens would be the best team in the North. I still think they are the best team in the North. I am a little disappointed in actually it's a good thing because I'm a Steelers fan, but I thought that the Ravens secondary would be better than what they played in Kansas City on Thursday. Obviously, they still have a good secondary. They've got a good defense. They've got a good offense. They're still going to be a juggernaut in the AFC. I mean, they played the Kansas City Chiefs in Kansas City, but their secondary didn't look as good. I didn't think the Bengals were going to be a good team this year. I don't know why the media thought they were going to be a good team. I still don't think they're going to be a good team. Don't let people fool you. And it's just game one. They always start slow. They have a lot of money wrapped up in Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, and they have a terrible offensive line. They're just not good. And their defense is okay, and it's played okay, but you can kind of see in their offense. And Joe Burrow, he's coming off an injury. I think that's going to be tough going for the Bengals this year. I'm not afraid of them at all. I also didn't think the Browns were going to be all that good. I knew their defense was going to be halfway decent, and I still think it is, regardless of the shellacking they got from the Cowboys yesterday, although one of the Cowboys' touchdowns was via a special team. But, the Browns, Deshaun Watson just isn't it. And it's amazing. Deshaun Watson in the Browns, the Browns paid almost $250 million. That's $1 billion with a B, dollars in guaranteed money to downgrade their quarterback from Baker Mayfield to Deshaun Watson. He's simply not the player he used to be. He doesn't even look interested out there. I think the Browns offense is going to be tough going this year. I don't know how injured David Njoku is. He's obviously a great weapon that they have, but if he's not going to be playing and you've got this Deshaun Watson, I think it's going to be a long year for the Browns and the Bengals. So good things for the Steelers. Now looking to next week against the Denver Broncos. So let's talk about that. I do think Russell Wilson's going to get the start if he is healthy. And having watched the Denver Broncos versus Seattle Seahawks, my takeaway is the Denver Broncos offense under Bo Nix is putrid. I mean, I think he's going to be a bust. I think that this offense is going to struggle throughout the year. They don't have many weapons. I don't see this offense doing much against the Steelers defense. So I think that's a good thing for us. However, the Denver Broncos do have a good defense, or fairly decent defense. Certainly it's not perfect. You saw what Seattle could do when they could, finally get going against them. But, a couple safeties by the Broncos defense. They were on the road too. Steelers are going to have to play in Denver, which is always difficult. It's always hard to go to Denver with any team and win there. We've really struggled to win there. I think the last time we won there was in 2005 when we won the Super Bowl in the AFC Championship, where we shellacked them in Denver. And that was Big Ben's probably best game in his early career. So we'll see what happens. I do think it'll be Russ getting the start. I want to give the Steelers the edge. I mean, it is in Denver, but we'll see what happens. So, we look forward to Denver next week and potentially going 2-0 with 2 games on the road. That would be a perfect way to start the 2024 season. So I think that wraps it up for the post-game analysis of Steelers at Falcons yesterday on Sunday. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, like this video, share it with your friends. It'll really help get the channel and the passion for the Steelers going. And once again, I'm Ron John. This is Steelers Therapy. Until next time.